How can we make learning memorable? You know what I'm talking about. Those lessons that are unforgettable, that students want to talk to each other about, the ones that create some buzz in the hallway whenever we're there, or that pop their eyes open whenever they load up your learning management system and they're like, oh, wow, we get to do that. This is the unforgettable techie learning that we're going to be talking about in this video, and we've got lots of ideas to share with you. So this is part 2. This is the second one. We had a video earlier where we touched on a few ideas for this, and we're going to dig into even more of them. So we're so thankful that you joined us on this video on Facebook and YouTube Live. My name is Matt Miller from Ditch That Textbook, and I'm joined by Holly Clark. Holly, you want to say hey?
Hey everyone, and had to do a different background today because it's super sunny when it's early in the morning for me. So I couldn't see me in the other room. So
yeah, you should have seen it earlier. We got on before this got going, and she had like bright sunlight in her face. It was like the lines from the blinds and everything. And so yeah, this is definitely much better. So if you're catching this video on the replay, we're so glad that you found it. We're going to have lots and lots of ideas to share with you. If you're live, we are so glad that you joined us. Would love for you to say hello, give us your name and location and what you do so we can shout you out in the video. And so today we're going to be talking about some of the core ideas of my brand new book, Tech Like a Pirate, which guess what? See, in the previous video, I had to show you a piece of paper because I didn't even have my copy yet. It took 9 days. And I finally have one, like to hold in my hands. I'm so excited about it. So there it is right there. And we're going to be talking about some of the core ideas from the book in this video. So we're going to say hey real quick to some of the ones that are joining us on the video. I'm going to say hello to Liz from Indiana. Very familiar name to me. Glad to see you here. Holly is here again. She's been on some of our videos, and so that's cool. It's good to see her. Dalton's here from North Carolina.
Hey,
always good
by
to see
the way,
him.
I'm doing a show tomorrow on the HyperDocs website, and they said, who are 2 people you think we should follow? And I put you, Matt, and Dalton.
Oh, wow. How about that? That's awesome. Awesome. Very cool. So Trisha's here from Georgia teaching 6th grade social studies. Good to see you. We've also got Karanda Herring from North Carolina. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. Holly says instructional assistants for elementary grades from North Carolina. There we go. Okay. So we got them more specific here. Trisha says her copy is arriving tomorrow.
Yes,
woo, awesome.
jealous.
Yeah, glad to hear that. Carla is here from North Dakota. Good to see you. Already ordered. We've got, is that Yua from Poland? Yeah, that's awesome. So good to see you as well. Jennifer's here from Anderson Valley, California. Welcome. Diane says, my favorite time of day, Ditch That Textbook Live. Awesome. Very good. We've also got Jamie. Jamie's here from South Carolina. I know she got a copy of the book and excited about that. Mohammed is here from Egypt. Awesome. Wow. Enjoying the video. Dalton says that's awesome. Thanks so much, Holly. Guillermina is here from Wyoming. Thanks. Loves the vids. And then we've also got Bill from Ontario, Canada. And so good to see all of you here today. If anybody else pops in, welcome. We're so glad to have you as well. And so today we are going to be touching on this unforgettable techie learning. Wait, I've got to throw one more up here.
I know.
Country. Yiva is here from Sweden. Forgive me if I mispronounce that as well. So wanted to say hello to her as well. Okay, so unforgettable techie learning. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're getting into. So this book that I keep mentioning, Tech Like a Pirate, is a follow-up to Dave Burgess's book, Teach Like a Pirate. And when I very first picked that book up and read it like 7 years ago, I saw this one line and it just kept echoing in my ears. Don't just teach a lesson, create an experience. And I kept thinking, oh man, this is what I want to do. This is what I want my class to look like. And it seemed like all of my examples that I came up with involved technology. And so as I continued to brainstorm ideas over the last 7 years and get them into this book, this is the question that I wanted the book to be able to answer. Can technology help us make class an experience, an unforgettable experience, and boost learning at the same time? And I think the answer is absolutely yes. And that's really what this book is full of. And so within the book, we have these Really, we have 7 ways to tech like a pirate that are in the book. We've got 7 different chapters that dig into all of these different parts. And then there's the 8th one, the storytelling one that is not actually in the book, but I've got some resources on my Tech Like a Pirate resources page, which you can find at techlikeapirate.com. You can actually read that extra chapter that didn't make the book by going to that link. And so in our previous video, Holly and I talked about the first 3 of these, social media and apps. How can we take some of the compelling parts of that and turn them into an experience? We talked about video and we talked about games. And so now we're going to dive into some of the other ones. And I know we're going to have lots of things that we want to share, but we also want to hear from you too. So if you're joining this video live, we would love for you to drop your own ideas. And because Holly, this is the best part of it, really, is.
Yes.
I totally love getting, seeing the ideas from our viewers, from those of you that are joining us. So if we start to share one of these ideas and you go, oh, I've got an idea that I've tried, or, oh, I've got an idea that I love to try, or I saw this in somebody else's class, please definitely drop those into the comments. And we want to put them up on the screen and share those as well. So, whew. Holly, you ready to dig into this?
I am.
All right. Very good.
I always am.
Right. I know.
And it's the comments that come. I learn. I write down. I reach out to people and be like, can I use that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. So let's start digging into some of these. This one is number 4 and it's collaboration. And the reason that I wanted to put this one into the book is just because, I've always found at all different levels, kids are such social beings and they want to do things together with their classmates and they want to connect. And whenever we can let them learn together in collaboration, amazing things can happen. And Holly, I know that's been the case for you too, right?
Well, yeah. And also we want to think about when they get into the work world, they're going to have to be good at collaborating. So even if there's a kid who's like, I want to work alone, it's kind of something we have to really think about allowing them to do. And I want to say one other thing. So when I was working on my PhD, Matt, I did this thing with my partner, and we went, I was on the East Coast, and we went up and down the East Coast visiting schools, and we watched them collaborating. We watched kids and we took notes and we did all these statistics around it. And just an FYI, when kids are collaborating, we found that they worked best and did more work in groups of 3 always. And when you added a 4th person, collaboration and actually work product went down by about 20%. So just a little tidbit of information from those from that research we did.
That's fascinating. And that rings true from all the experience I've had in my own classroom too. So we just got a comment real quick. Kathy says, I got my book yesterday. Can you please virtually sign it? Okay, Kathy, here's what we're going to do real quick. All right. You put your book up to the screen. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There, I just signed it.
Do it again. Do it again.
Oh, okay. We'll do it again. Do it again. Here we go. Ready?
Okay. Got a screenshot.
Love it. That's awesome. And then as far as collaboration goes, I had to throw this in too. Les from California just said, has anyone had fellow teachers collaborate on lessons? I feel a bit isolated. I think that's a fantastic idea. Like, we don't have that collaboration among colleagues like we did before. And so, yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. So glad that he brought that up. As far as collaboration goes, I wanted to share a quick quote that comes out of the book. I love these like full page quote things. So this came out of the book. It says, who's doing the work is less important. Working together to achieve more is what counts, right? And so I think that is at the heart of this whole collaboration piece. And in the book, I talk about an activity that I did where my students were connecting with a class in Valencia, Spain. My high school Spanish students in rural Indiana, and they were connecting with a class in Spain. And we did some video. Valencia, sí, exacto. And so in that class, we did some like live video calls together, but there was another activity that we did where my students were just working in just an online document. And we had written some questions for the kids in Spain. and, just to ask them about daily life, or, to tie it into the lessons that we were doing together. And one day in particular, I remember we were typing these questions and this little cursor comes onto the screen and it starts moving down to the questions. And these kids from Spain were typing their responses at the exact same time that we were typing the questions. We were in the document together. We were more than, we were thousands of miles apart, but we were all together in that same document. And the amazing thing, I think, is that with a lot of these collaboration tools that we can have that same feeling of working together in the same space. And that by far is one of my favorite examples of that.
And I've done the same thing with students in Australia, where we wrote a paper, 2 students from my class and 2 students from the class in Adelaide, outside of Adelaide, wrote a paper on sugar. And it's such a great story, but too long to tell here. And we read Wonder in a 5th grade classroom with 54 different locations, including South Africa, Denmark. And so we all read the book Wonder together using Flipgrid.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I love that. That's so cool. Another suggestion that I make in the book related to collaboration is to do a shared slide presentation together. And this doesn't make like a whole lot of sense right away until you kind of look at it. What you do is you make a slide presentation so that each kid can have their own slide. And then you hit that share button. And by the way, this works for Google Slides and for PowerPoint online. You hit that share button and you make it so that anyone with a link can edit those slides. And so then each kid gets their own slide and they're able to work on their slide, but then go see what everybody else is doing too. By the way, I've got a link to that right down here. If you want to check out a blog post related to that shows you how to set it up. And so, I've had students writing text, adding images to their slides, and then they go make comments on each other's slides. So that's been one of my favorite ways to do collaboration in the face-to-face class that works really well in remote spaces as well.
And can I add, Matt, we have a question about how do you deal with time zones? So I just want to talk about Australia, because Australia and our time zone's a little off for kids being at school. So that when Flipgrid came around, we wanted to do a mystery Skype, but we couldn't do one like in real time. So we did a mystery Skype, and I wrote a blog post about it using Flipgrid. So we would leave them questions on Flipgrid, they would come answer. And during the time when we did that, and the kids didn't see their responses, I felt like there used to be a commercial for Kohl's or Mervyn's or something that would be like, open, open, open. And I felt like kids were coming to my class like, open, hurry, let's see what they said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's so cool. As far as time zones go, and by the way, we're going to touch a little more on this whole like connecting with other people in different places on another one in this called global communication. But I found with time zones that if you're able to connect with people that are north of you or south of you, that means that they stay, they're basically in the same time zone. So for me, I know teaching high school Spanish, I realized that if I could connect with folks in South America, the time zones weren't as wildly different as, say, they were in Valencia, Spain, where it was like 10 hours difference. So that's one little thing that we can do. Look at this. Matt's enthusiastic makes me want to go and share slides like crazy. Yes, that was my goal. I love that. And then Kathy also said Book Creator now has free collaboration during emergency remote learning. And I knew that would excite you, Holly.
Yep. Well, I was going to bring up Book Creator because the Book Creator that we also did, we did that Wonder project was in Book Creator. We did pages together and then we talked in Flipgrid. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. So cool. Totally love
that.
Wrote a
blog post about it.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to another one. Let's go to number 5, images. And I tell you what, there is so much related to images out in our day-to-day worlds that we use that we can pull into class to make it an experience. And so I always like to bring up images because whenever you put images and text together, that's super, super brain friendly. I feel like I talk about this all the time.
Yes.
It relates to dual coding theory, which says that our brains encode text and images very differently. And so if we do something with images and text together, it encodes it in both of those ways and it makes it stickier for long-term learning. And so some of my favorite examples of this are, I mean, it's just something as simple as making memes. You know, you make memes where you have a picture on the screen and then you add a little bit of text at the top or the bottom. You can do that real simply within like PowerPoint with a single PowerPoint slide, or you could even do it within Google Drawings in the Google universe. And you just add a little piece of text up at the top and up and down at the bottom. And if students can get an idea across in one of those simple memes, and if they can make it funny, you know, that's higher order thinking right there. To take an idea, to find the humor in it, and to be able to express that very briefly. I think that's a real great way to do that. Holly, when we talk about images, what comes to mind for you?
Just so much, Matt, that like I'm struggling to talk about it. But for me, it's the difference in seeing images from different places, actually, that really inspires my kids. To keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what Brittany just said here. She says, I love using Jamboard to collaborate too. This one fits nicely for collaboration and for images. And
that's what I was going to say. Like the image part for me, sketchnoting and Jamboard, you can do a collaborative and global and do all the things that you're talking about using Jamboard and sketchnoting.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Jamboard, you can find, I think it's just jamboard.google.com. And Jamboard is kind of like a big whiteboard that you and your students can join. And then everybody can collaborate on the same whiteboard, and they can throw pictures on there. They can throw sticky notes. They can write text. They can type text. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can put into these. And then you can have multiple pages. It's almost like having multiple whiteboards side by side by side. And so to make that as a very visual, collaborative space, that's a really good way to go too, I think.
And I do a 6-word summary. And Heather kind of when she wrote, it's interesting to see the different images that students use for the same topic. I like to do a 6-word summary, and we did a 6-word summary around The Outsiders one time where kids did something around sunsets, and then they all picked, because we live in San Diego, they picked a sunset at the beach, and one kid didn't pick a sunset at the beach. They picked it in actual Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it should be, and the rest of the kids, when they saw the image, were like, oh, and they self-corrected themselves because they saw the differences. And like, obviously there's no sunset at the beach in Tulsa, you know?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
And you know what that is? That's metacognition. Anyway.
Yes, it is. Yep, that's right. You had to throw that in there. So very good. I'm seeing some comments over here about that kind of tie into this whole global communication thing. We keep kind of coming back to that. So I'm going to jump off of images. I'm going to skip over exploration for the moment, just so we can go straight here to this one, number 7, global communication. And this is the one I started touching on this a little bit in the collaboration piece, but I sort of see global communication as a separate thing. And this is where we get in touch with other people, you know, all around our own country, our own state, but even outside, you know, around the world. And of course, now we're seeing a ton of this with, you know, video conferencing, video calls, Zoom calls, Google Meets, you know, within Teams and Skype and all of that. And, you know, what we used to see as virtual guests and virtual field trips in the face-to-face classroom has now kind of become the norm for a lot of folks as far as meeting with their students in these online spaces. And the thing that I love about this is that we can pull other people into these video calls during remote learning, and we can pull in, you know, connections to other places. You can almost do virtual field trips within the calls that we do with our classes. And this has been really a game changer for me in my own classroom, and I've seen it in so many other classes too. And Holly, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I get the opportunity to work with some kids in Yellowknife, Canada, and if you don't know where that is, it's in the Northwest Territories, and I kind of call it like the Arctic. It's not quite the Arctic yet, but 2 hours or 3 hours away, you know, and it's really far up there. And then I also work really closely with some kids in Oklahoma, and what two distinctly different geographical regions, one being where they have the Northern Lights. And so I had those two kids classes collaborate using Flipgrid to teach each other about those geographical things and to show the kids in Oklahoma the Northern Lights. And like, it's some good stuff.
Yeah,
to be able
absolutely.
to do that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I wanted to bring up one of my favorite resources when it comes to global collaboration, and that definitely has to be the Skype in the Classroom website. So if you go to skypeintheclassroom.com, I'm going to try to put up here on the screen for you real quick. Skype in the.
You might be a master teacher for Skype, eh?
I am a Skype master teacher. Yes, I am. So that's, even more reason why I totally love to share this. So if you come to this site, it's a free site, and it's basically just a big, it's almost like a big database of lots of, what you can see here, virtual field trips. These are video calls you can set up with your students where you can go someplace for free, and someone there will take you on kind of like a field trip or a tour.
I don't know.
You've got mystery Skype calls where you can find another class in another part of the country or the world. And it's kind of like a global guessing game where you try to guess where each other is from. You've got virtual guest speakers. And so these are people that Skype has vetted and has, shown that they are safe and good people for you to have into your class, and they can talk about their passion and, whatever it is that they do. You've got collaborative projects and themed collections that you can connect your students with. And then they've even got special events. Like, for instance, they do special events with Jane Goodall, and there's all sorts of cool stuff here. And so if you're looking for a guest to bring into your class or virtual field trip to take your students on, this is a really great way to go, I think. And so I wanted to bring a couple of the comments in. We had Dalton saying, we can begin to connect with others across the world right now, so that they can develop skills that they will need when they connect to others in the future. Totally love this. Yeah, that is so true. And then I thought there was another one. Melanie mentioned the global read aloud. Now, this is really cool. She says it's a great opportunity to connect with students around the world. And so if you haven't heard of the global read aloud, the idea behind it is that they select books that students are able to read together with other classes around the world. And they have it on different levels. So they have books for younger learners all the way up to, up through high school. And then they're able to get connected on video calls and do read alouds together so that the kids are able to hear it and then discuss it. And this has become like quite the global event, hasn't it? Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Really, really cool. So, anyway, Les is saying, this reminds me of Skype a Scientist.
Yep.
My 10th graders were reading Things Fall Apart, and I wanted to check in to see if I could find an anthropologist who could give more background on the Igbo tribe, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is an example. Yeah. No,
South Africa. So like, it's really like near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. And so this Skype a Scientist thing, if you go, onto a search engine and check this out, it's pretty neat to be able to bring, actual scientists into your class like that, and have your students interact with them. So pretty cool stuff. Let's keep moving here. We were earlier on global collaboration. I want to come back real quick to exploration. And this is another big part of these 7 ways to tech like a pirate. And this one has to do with not just explicitly teaching your students about what you want them to learn, but actually giving them the opportunity to go and explore it on their own, to go find things. And in that case, they will have found it themselves and learned it on their own instead of having it forced on them by you. I know we just did a live video, Holly, with Lisa Highfill, and she said this was one of the she mentioned Ramsey Musalam, who's a great science teacher in California, and she said that he had really shifted her thinking on that, where she doesn't need to be, and he doesn't need to be, the person who teaches every single thing. If the students can go find some of it on their own, that can be huge. So thoughts on that, Holly?
So what I'm seeing here, Matt, in all of these things that you've put together in this book is this overlap. Like you can explore, but you could do that as you're collaborating with kids from a global place. Like I saw someone do a book creator with, I believe, third grade Iceland and the US, where the kids taught each other about these different places. And in that, there's a little exploration as well, even though that's not really what you're talking about. You're talking about like exploring the content beforehand, but like it can have a dual meaning with all of that. So it's really great. And I also am a big person who thinks we have to activate curiosity through this exploration process to get kids involved. If we skip that step, we lose so much.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. And, you know, when it comes to exploration, it doesn't just have to be exploring information. I'm looking off to the side here because I want to pull up Google Earth. And so the reason I bring this up is that we don't just need to explore information. We can also, of course, explore the world. And so if you haven't looked at Google Earth recently, it's a pretty cool thing. I love how they call it the world's most detailed globe. And so as we load this up, what's neat about Google Earth is, of course, you can see the world from the top looking down. P.S. If you're doing remote learning and you're doing video calls with your students, this is something that you're definitely able to share on your screen with your students. So it's almost like taking them on a virtual field trip of sorts. And so I think my internet connection is struggling to run this live video and to load Google Earth at the same time. That may not have been my best idea.
Yeah.
But you can sort of start to see here that I've brought this in on Manhattan, you know, downtown New York City. And of course, you can see it from up above. The other thing that I love too is within Google Earth, if you hold in Shift and click, you can tilt. So now I can really see it from up on top. And then the other thing that's neat about it too is that we can use Street View. So we can click and drag the little yellow peg man onto the screen and drop it right down, and it'll take you right onto the street in New York to an emergency exit. Oh, look at this. We're like actually down in the subway. How about that? Now that one ended up being a photosphere. This was one kind of like panoramic 360 picture that somebody took. But you can also drop them down on the street and walk around on the street. And so the reason that I bring this up is this is one of my favorite things to do when it comes to exploring geography. What if you have a specific location that your students are getting ready to study? And then you just say, hey, we're going to study Manhattan. I want you to take 15 minutes or so. Go drop yourself down on the street and walk around the streets of Manhattan, or go look at it from above on Google Earth. You know, I think the possibilities are endless when it comes to that, as far as letting students explore geography, right?
And I want to tell you a little example of the same thing. So I had a teacher who really loved her state reports, and I looked at her state report, and to be honest, it did say teachers pay teachers at the bottom, and it had questions like, what is the state flower? What is the state flag? What are the state whatever? And I found it a little, you know, to 1985. And so I was like, can we up this? And so I went into Google Tour Creator, and I had the students find 360 images. So we did some of the same stuff. Maybe we didn't do the state flower anymore, but the kids made a state report using 360 images from their state and put it together, narrated over it, brought in music. And so kind of 2020'd the good old state report.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's a perfect example of how this can be, you know, brought in and plugged in right away. So Dalton says, I love to use Google Maps in the classroom. We pulled up saved images from Google Maps to name the clouds students see. We can travel the whole globe and see the same type of clouds. That's interesting. If you're studying the different types of clouds and then you pull it up in Google Maps and you go, hey, look, from this country, look, there are the same kinds of clouds. From this country, same kinds of clouds. That's a really cool perspective thing. Sorry, Holly.
No, just saying there's some pretty lucky kids who have Dalton as a teacher.
Yep. Totally agree. So So there you have most of them right there. We've touched on collaboration, images, exploration, global communication. I'm also going to mention that if you head to that resources page, which is techlikeapirate.com, you can see this storytelling section, and you can actually read the entire chapter out of my book that didn't make it into print, but did make it onto the website. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in it. I'll throw Terry's comment up here real quick. So cool to use in Spanish class. Love that idea, Holly. I've used Google Maps Street View and Google Earth in my Spanish class a whole bunch too. And yeah, lots and lots of different possibilities for all of this. So, all right, we've touched on a bunch of these. Any last thoughts, Holly, before we finish up?
No, it's just amazing how they all go together. And I'm so glad that you chose these 8. Like, this is amazing. And I am going to celebrate when my book gets here.
Nice. Very good. Very good. So, of course, those are a part of this book, Tech Like a Pirate. You can go grab a copy on Amazon if you're interested. Even if you don't want to get the copy right away, you can go to techlikeapirate.com. There's tons of free resources there around all of the ideas related to the book. So definitely check that out. If you're enjoying these live videos, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel for Ditch That Textbook. If you're watching on YouTube right now, just hit that subscribe button down at the bottom. And then you can find both Holly and I on Facebook. If you search for Ditch That Textbook on Facebook, or Holly, what is it on Facebook for you?
Well, just, I'm sure, search Infused Classroom and you'll find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good way to find some of these live videos as well. So we've had a great time hanging out with all of you. Oh man, this one just got dropped in at the end. Love Google Tour Creator. That's a whole other one we could do for a whole entire episode.
Yeah, I know. We really should maybe.
Yep. And deep learning is the treasure in the end. Yes, totally agree with that. So very good. Good. So you guys bring the best comments. I totally love this. So anyway, we're going to wrap this one up. We've touched on a bunch of stuff, and we thank you so much for joining. If you're seeing this on the replay, hopefully you've gotten some good ideas. If you've been in this on the live, then we loved hanging out with you for just a little bit of time, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks again for joining us.
Bye, everyone.